Hey everybody, it's me, Remy the Comic Book Poser, and today I'm here to welcome you to enter the Poserverse. It's Tuesday, which can only mean one thing. It's time to talk about what's going to be on my pull list this week. So let's find out what kind of random shit I'm reading after this. Alright, here we are again. I've got my League of Comic Geeks pull list up and running. This will only miss if there's a couple 3 books coming out that I pull at my other shop, like I say every week. So here's what I'm getting from Chops Comics in lovely Lawrence, Kansas on Wednesday, November 25th, 2020. If I don't see you again before then, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy some turkey. We'll see if I have an itis live stream on Thursday night. Who knows? Maybe I'll be passed out. So I've got this running alphabetically. So the first book I've got picked up this week is Autumnal number 3 from Vault Comics. I really love this series. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't think I'm supposed to. There was a big ass fight at the end of book number 2 over letting kids play in some leaves. And I'm wondering if in book 3 we're going to figure out what the significance is of all of the foliage that is in Comfort Notch. But it's a really, really interesting book. And like I've said recently, I think Vault is absolutely crushing it. Speaking of Vault, Bleed Them Dry number 5. I'm on a vampire samurai kick right now. That's what Bleed Them Dry number 5 is. My pick of the week from last week. The Devil's Red Bride number 2 is a vampire samurai set in feudal Japan. This is set in futuristic Japan. But we're gonna see if the vampire slayer is finally brought to justice. We're going to see the aftermath of the attack that we saw in book number 4. I'm ready for this. Up next on my list is Cat Shit number 1 from Antarctic Press. This is the second time it's popped up on the pull list that I'm guessing it got pushed back to this week. I'm literally only buying it because of the title, because it sounds like the kind of thing I would read. So let's see how it goes. Coming up next from Marvel is Daredevil number 24. Every time this book comes out, feel like I sing the praises of Chip Zdarsky. I've said several times that Daredevil is one of my favorite characters of all time, and I really think that Chip Zdarsky is just giving us new elements of Daredevil to be able to investigate, since he is finally dealing with the trial process, since we are finally seeing somebody take control. We have a new kingpin in Hell's Kitchen. It's time to see how all of these things will come together and how Daredevil will respond, since he is under such a tight, microscope because of the trial. Next from Image is Department of Truth number 3. I also love this book. The art is disorienting. The story is very engaging. I like playing with conspiracy theories. Book number 2 dealt with satanic preschools. Here we see something that talks about maybe dealing with false flags and crisis actors, which is something that we hear people talk about a lot these days. So I'm intrigued to see what Tynion and friends have coming up with this one. Up next from AWA is Devil's Highway number 5. This is the conclusion of the 5-book series. We get to see the significance of the snake. We have finally found a circuit of individuals who have been kind of human trafficking, sex trafficking, murder trafficking in the American trucking industry. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this wraps up. But like I've said with every single AWA finale, they have delivered. So it's going to be a good resolution, and it'll be a question of, do we get to see a little morsel where this could maybe be extended into another arc, just like Year Zero has been? Could this be the first story that truly continues with the same character instead of just the same universe? Who knows, but I really enjoy this book. It's been very, very solid. Next up for Marvel is Doctor Doom number 9. I talk about every time this or Iron Man comes up how highly I think of Christopher Cantwell's writing. I can't remember who the art is. Is it Roca who's doing the art on Doctor Doom? But a very engaging tale as we're starting to look at Doom regaining his authority in Latveria. We're starting to see if he is going to go full villain or if he's going to do something to work with Reed Richards, who is still on the moon, talking about, a potential apocalypse. Next up from Mad Cave Studios is Dryfoot number 3. I have already read this book and it is fantastic. I remember in interviewing Jared Lahan before Dryfoot number 1 came out, he said that everybody might kind of hate him, that he might have to turn his social media off the day that number 3 comes out because there's going to be something big that happens, right? That's not a spoiler. He's been saying that to a lot of people who have interviewed him. I read the book and I DM'd him in all caps, yelling at him and then telling him how fantastic I thought the issue was. So check this out, and if you haven't gotten into it, it's only a 4-issue series, so I'm sure you can still find, copies of the second printing of number 1 and probably some copies of number 2. Or go the digital route if you can't find it physically. We are on the verge of the end of the Ten of Swords event. It might end this week. As I was scanning this, I can't remember if I saw 2 or 3 X-Men books, but if there are 3, then the event is over. But it's been very, very interesting. We can see that Excalibur is chapter 21, and we know that there are 22, so we'll kind of look out as we continue to scroll. Next from DC is The Flash. This turned around on me that I wasn't a big fan of the first couple of issues of this arc with the new writer, but in terms of looking at Dr. Alchemy, being able to play with the Philosopher's Stone, being able to physically manipulate the environment around him is very, very interesting, right? You have the same kind of connection with this villain that Barry Allen does with Eobard Thwain, the Reverse Flash, that Dr. Alchemy is somebody who he also knows from his past. But in seeing that he's been playing a long game, right, how is Barry Allen going to react to all of this? But I like it. This is part 4 of the arc. I would highly recommend picking this up. Even if you didn't like Williamson, I think this is a breath of fresh air, but I think it's an interesting take in the direction of the Flash with a new villain. Next up from Vault is I Walk with Monsters number 1. This is something that I have picked up at the recommendation of 2 or 3 other people. It's about someone who is hunting out people who try to take out the vulnerable. So I'm excited for this one, so we'll see how I feel about it if I get to talk about it on my haul video on Wednesday. Next, one of the books that the publisher has been hyping up in some of their recent releases from Aftershock is the Kaiju Score number 1. The preview looked interesting. I'll pick up the book. I've loved Aftershock number 1s. We Live, fantastic. Red Atlantis, outstanding. Hopefully this is yet another Aftershock number 1 that will be dope. Next from Image is Philadelphia number 10. This has been amazing. I did not think that the second arc could be more compelling, earth-shattering, pants-shitting than the first, but it is. We are starting to figure out the plan that Abigail and the new Addams family have going on. We're starting to see how the Sangsters relate to it, and still how pissed that Sangster Sr. is that he was unearthed as he almost got to be reunited with his wife. Legion of Superheroes number 11 is next. We are getting some interaction with General Zod as the Legion is kind of freed from some of the legal stuff that they are dealing with. This is one of those books, though, where I read so much random superhero stuff that I always have to read the previous issue to read it back to back. Like I said, I know that Bendis has been getting a lot of hate for Nick Spencer-ing Superman. I actually think what he's doing on Legion is pretty interesting, so I'm excited to read. Next from Marvel is Maestro number 4. I think this is book 4 of 5. We're starting to get to see more happening, more information, and we're starting to get to see Old Man Hulk get ready to throw some things down. So you can see the phrase pivotal moment here at the end of the description. So I'm interested to see what's next as we hit the peak of this 5-issue mini before we settle down next month. From Image is Nailbiter Returns number 7. Damn, is all I have to say. That this book has delivered in spades, finding new angles to get people hooked into the story. as we are trying to figure out more about this old serial killer game, yes, please. It's fantastic. And that's all I can say. And I know I'm using a lot of empty, vacuous words to make it sound like I haven't read these things, but y'all have heard me talk about these books in the past. I'm still running off of 4 hours of sleep from hosting a tournament this last weekend, and then hosting like a 5-hour auction on Sunday night. Next from DC is The Other History of the DC Universe #1. I'm interested in looking at this in terms of both getting some more DC history, but also getting some Elseworlds elements from this that I'm really excited to watch people kind of play with the dark side or the other side of different DC moments. I really liked the history of the Marvel Universe that came out last year, where you were seeing a lot of big events kind of being walked through in this conversation between Galactus and Reed Richards, as, you know, the reality in the universe was imploding before both of those entities are reborn again. So I'm interested to see if there's some kind of through device in the other history of the DC universe to kind of connect the dots in the same way that last year's Marvel did. If not, you know, I'm intrigued, especially when John Ridley is kind of taking the helm at playing with the mythology. And note, I think this is my most expensive book of the week, that it's a Black Label book, and it's coming in at $7. Next from IDW is Scarent #2. I was surprised to see this come up so fast. I really feel like we got Scarent #1 2 weeks ago. So maybe this is something that gets pushed back, but if we get it again, I really, really, really enjoyed Scarent #1. I'm excited to see what happens after the events of kind of Cormac being trapped in the church auditorium under the stage thing, the aftermath of dealing with his daughter being left behind, and really seeing if there's more kind of backstory to the town that they, you know, have introduced to us in the first issue, or really looking more at the family dynamic between Cormac and Scooper, and what is happening for the mom to be out of the picture, and why he's kind of afraid of potentially losing his daughter. Another Image book on the list, Scumbag #2. #1 was weird as hell, right? Like, you had this dude who just wanted to get by, you know, with a good old ride on the horse, and when he did, he picked up the wrong needle and injected him with something that made him like a weird superhero. And the best thing from Scumbag #1 still, I think, was the negotiation that he had with the person who was clearly either the top of the food chain or the intermediary between him and people in power. I also believe I heard people talk about how the art in each book is going to be different, so it'll be interesting to kind of compare issue 1 and issue 2 to see how that changes the storytelling in either a good or a bad way, or I could be wrong on that. That's what I get for saying I heard people say this instead of Googling it myself, but shit happens. Next from IDW is Snake Eyes Dead Game #3. You've got Liefeld, you know, who has the story together. He's not the active scriptwriter, but he is doing the art. This has been a fun look into, you know, Snake Eyes dealing with some kind of otherworldly being, the Dead Game, and seeing, you know, if he will rise. I'm a Snake Eyes fan. Liefeld, I believe, is really, really doing him some justice in this instance, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Next up from Mad Cave is Stargazer #3. This book I've also read already and is really interesting in terms of watching how the people decide to communicate with one another to deal with the brother who has disappeared, to see if there is some truth to the idea that they have been. The other thing that I'll say is you should go back on Comic Burrito's channel 2 weeks ago when Anthony Cleveland was one of their guests. You want to talk about someone who knows how to do everything. That interview went all over the place. Even you got recommendations on how to make and bottle your own hot sauce. So that's the kind of Renaissance man I'm into, and if I remember, I will put the link up here to go check out that very long interview that takes so many twists and turns, but really endeared me, to Anthony Cleveland as a creator, because I want to see what else kind of happens after just watching how his brain works, the conversations he had, and all of those other things. Next up from IDW is TMNT Donatello. This is the second of the Best of series that this is a 100-page issue. It's $6 book. That it's reprint of the old Eastman and Laird Ninja Turtles, and it was a fun read. The first one that came out was Raphael. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to watch each of these kind of break down. I also think the negative space elements of the covers are kind of cool, right? The covers look fairly similar in terms of the silhouette of the turtle, but then it is dominated by the color of the bandana, and I really, really like these kinds of negative space covers that I think it's really cool. Next up is Transformers Back to the Future #2 from IDW. I'm wondering why it says cover coming soon. Sometimes when this is from one of the bigger, smaller publishers, it means that it might be pushed back a week. I haven't looked on Midtown to see if they've got a cover image up there, but it's fun watching the Transformers show up in Hill Valley and change, the lore of one of my favorite kind of nostalgic movies from my childhood. Another Image book, Undiscovered Country #10. I've really enjoyed this arc as they explore unity. In book number 9, we found out that the fabric things that have kind of been popping up are things that the citizens of this sector of undiscovered America can deal, they can manipulate this stuff with their mind. They're members of the adventure party who, they put something on their finger and they can manifest things. So you see, weird, hacker satellite van pop up. You see the brother and sister pair get to have a conversation with their parents, but it's not actually their parents. It's a manifestation of memories and traces of their parents being left behind, and shit got wild in number 9. You started to see kind of a bigger building arc between Unity Man and Uncle Sam come together, and I'm wondering if we get a bigger push of that conflict again in this issue. Next up, from Boom, An Unkindness of Ravens #3. I missed book number 1 on this series, hunted it down from Midtown, got number 2 from my boy Jason at Chops, and number 3 should be here on time. This is another kind of strange, mystical town that's going on. You have a young woman who is shown up in this town, is attending a high school where she looks like a young woman she was either murdered or has gone missing. She opens her locker and finds this weird, lit up message that nobody else can see. She's approached by a clique of young women to meet in the woods. Her friend comes along, is told to go away, and you find out that they're functionally like a coven of witches. So this is another series that I'm excited to dive into some more. That, again, I don't ever think I would have said in the past that, yes, I want to read about a coven of witches, but the writing on this story is just engaging. It's something that gives you that kind of lean forward quality to want to get lost in the pages of that universe. 2 more, and it answers my question about whether or not the Ten of Swords event ends this week or next week. We've got chapter 20 and 22, because Excalibur was 21 up there towards the top. We've got Ten of Swords, Destruction, and X-Men #15, the final 2 books that show the battle between Krakoa and Arakko. I've been high on this event. The 3 books that came out last week were all kind of strange, that I don't know if I would say that they were as strong as the weeks before, but I'm excited to see how this is all wrapped up, especially since this is the first full event that I've ever invested in, right? That I started reading again after War of the Realms was beginning to wrap up. Sure, if you want to talk about House of X and Powers of 10 as being an event, then sure. But I think this is, 22 issues in the last 5 weeks of a singular universe has really been something interesting to me to consume, and it's helped me prime the pump for all of the King in Black books, which I believe are all starting the first week of December. I know we got Spider-Man, Symbiote, Alien Reality last week, so if I missed one of those King in Black books, that'll be one of the things that I pick up on Wednesday off the new issue table. But yeah, what do you think? Is there anything that you think that I'm missing from this list in particular? Anything you think that I should read? Anything that you've seen you're like, not so good? But I think these are all, we're not getting more than 2 number ones this week. I think it's already been so long I don't remember. But I'm excited to check all of these things out. I'm excited to have a good breath of fresh reading. That way, if I get bogged down mentally from having to deal with a lot of interaction with family across the holiday weekend, then I can slip away for 5-10 minutes, get lost in a good book, and then go back and deal with everybody who I am related to by blood or marriage that I love very much. But we all know how the holidays go. So, thanks for coming. Happy Thanksgiving. Check out my video on Wednesday. I will go live with a haul. The other thing that I'm planning on doing is right over there out of the camera pane. I've got a big old fat stack of things that have come in from Kickstarter that have just been sitting there. The discipline that I've had to not open some of this shit is mind-boggling to me, because I'm notoriously bad about dropping everything to open stuff that comes in the mail. But in addition to the new books that I'm picking up, we'll do a little bit of a Kickstarter haul. So check out my, haul video Wednesday afternoon. It's usually around 12:30 Central Standard Time, 1:30 Eastern, because that's in my break between classes on Wednesdays. So that's it. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and have a good one.